Welcome to another edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Mika. The Tobs are coming off a 2-game losing streak, losing to the Columbia Blowfish 8-3 and the Eatonton Steamers 12-4. Past couple nights have been rough for the Tobs, where they came off 2 losses going into a double dip tonight against the Eatonton Steamers. They lost to the Blowfish in a game where they struck out 22 times a CPL record. On the bright side, Bobby Gazzola pitched well for the Tobs in his first start in the 2013 campaign. On today's episode, I'll be breaking down the game with Coach Austin Love, and me and Riley will discuss the Tobs' push towards the Pettit Cup playoffs. Also, Christian Slazik will be interviewed by Riley and his journey with the game of baseball. All this is coming up on Tobs Talk on Greenlight. Welcome back to another edition of Tobs Talk, joined with Coach Austin Love. Now, first, let's get to the Columbia Blowfish game. You guys struggled a little bit. You guys were winning, and then you guys gave up the lead. Nick Regner came on again, playing a huge game. What have you seen from him that's impressed you lately?
He's calm. He's letting the ball get deep, which I think is important for him. He's just having fun. He's not putting extra pressure on himself, which is kind of what I think he was doing early in the year. And it's fun to watch because every time he's up there, he's just about getting a hit, or he's hitting the ball hard, or even just hitting the ball soft and finding a hole. So he's really doing a lot of good things. He's also a great defender. He almost threw a guy out the other night, so he brings a lot to the table with speed and everything. So, now that he's rolling, he's a good addition to our lineup. Right.
Nick Regner on a hitting streak, as well as Kevin Jordan. What have you seen from Kevin Jordan that's been an addition with that lineup?
Kevin's biggest thing has been some approach as far as pitch selection. We spent time talking about attacking fastballs, and he's done that. And even when he's taken some off-balance swings, he kind of readjusts and kind of looks to drive the ball to the opposite field. He's had more opposite field hits during this hit streak, than I've seen him have in a long time. So, he's driving the ball the other way a little bit. He almost hit a home run, or actually he's almost hit 2 home runs opposite field that just went right off the top of the wall, which is pretty impressive, coming from the left side and the ballparks that we played in when that happened. So, once he really starts to continue to do that stuff, he's got big time pop. The ball comes off his bat, different than a lot of guys. So, hopefully he can continue that, that approach and keep swinging it too.
Right. Now, last night, the Tobs lost to the Eatonton Steamers 12-4. What was the biggest thing in that matchup last night? Josh Johnson kind of struggled a little bit. What did you see from him?
Oh, the biggest thing, they got the big hit, and in their ballpark, it's a pop-up,
right.
And that's not to take anything away from Josh Hampton because he's a big hitter. The second home run he hit was a no-doubter, anywhere. But the first one he hit was kind of a backbreaker. And we started out pretty strong, got a couple hits, and had first and third, nobody out. And then Sean Godfrey hits a missile right at the right fielder. And then, Luke Lowry, he hits a ball down there at Hampton that's just, Hampton's a great defender too. He picks it and turns a double play, and the inning's over. And we hit 4 balls hard, and we're out of the inning and with nothing. So Josh pitched pretty well. He put up some zeros, and like I said, they battled pretty tough and put some balls in play and got some walks, and then they got the home run. So it just continuing to stay on course and make sure we battle at the plate, and as this week goes through, hopefully, we'll get stronger pitching-wise with some rest. And Josh was able, even though his line was pretty bad, he was able to give us, some quality innings to allow us to regroup pitching-wise, which is pretty good.
Yeah. The Steamers and the Tobs face off in a double dip tonight at historic Fleming Stadium. Now, what adjustments do you have to make playing the Steamers last night, going tonight again against the same team in a double dip matchup? What adjustments do you have to make as a coach?
Just trying to keep the guys focused and prepared and positive. John will pitch the first game for us, John Valek, the third, and he'll do what he's done his last few times out against Wilmington and whoever he pitched against before that. We just have to make that 7-inning adjustment again because we're playing the doubleheader. So hopefully we can get on the board early. Our bullpen will be fresh for tonight. So, Blake Myers, who was available last night, he'll be able to go. And having Dylan Fry back, especially for the doubleheader, is going to be huge. So, it's just the same old, the same old line.
Right, exactly.
Just try to score early. pitch deep into the game, and hopefully we can win one.
Yep. John Valk, becoming the ace of the staff, the southpaw from the University of Akron. He's been dominant so far this year. You know, he's not as fast throwing guy. He'll throw in the 80s, 81, 82. He'll get his ground balls, use the entire field to his advantage. There's a difference between, he struggled a little bit at Edenton with the small field, going to Historic Fleming with a bigger stadium. What are you looking for from Valk tonight?
Just like I said, more of the same. You know, I think he's a good matchup for Edenton in our ballpark.
Yep.
You know, at their place, it's a bit different when you can't. When at their place, you want to have a guy that has a little more velocity, that can pitch inside and leave guys off balance. You know, with John, he kind of attacks his zone and he gets a lot of pop-ups with his changeup and, you know, gets ground balls. That's the kind of pitcher he is, and he goes deep into the game. So, you know, just more of the same, you know, getting ahead and staying poised and throwing his changeup in any count and, you know, just attacking the zone.
Tobs coming off a 2-game losing streak, playing the Steamers tonight. We'll be joined by Riley Corcoran and Christian Slasik next. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight.
Riley Corcoran back here with Christian Slasnik, another arm in a vaulted rotation for the Wilson Tobs all year long. And coming from Eastern Illinois, and Christian, his first question would be, how would you describe this year for the Wilson Tobs? Here you've had to battle a couple of injuries as well, but coming through it, a lot of good momentum, at least late for you. It may not display it in the numbers for the most part, but you're feeling better out there on the mound. But how would you describe, I guess, the last couple of months here in Wilson?
Well, I would say it's just kind of getting back into the swing of things and trying to know that my body is going to hold up. I mean, I've been through a lot with my body in the past couple of years, whether it's a shoulder tweak or this year a hamstring tear. I mean, just knowing I can pitch at the high caliber that I can is good confidence booster for me.
You led me right into the next question about the hamstring tear. I mean, that had to be very frustrating. You missed the whole season this year at Eastern Illinois from it. Describe to everyone how it happened, when it happened throughout the course of the year, and how it really kind of stopped your development for a while.
Well, I was getting ready for the first start of the season. I was supposed to pitch that Friday because at the start of the season I was going to be the Friday guy. And I was playing long toss on our football field, and I guess my foot slipped. Felt a pop, and at first they thought it was my meniscus or my calf or something, but after 2 weeks of doctor visits and missing a bunch of class because of the doctor visits, I basically begged the doctor to give me an MRI, and he told me that he didn't think anything was wrong, and got the MRI results back and found out I had a torn hamstring. So it's no fault to him, it's just I knew what I felt, and it just so happened to be exactly what I thought it was.
Wow. I mean, so many frustrating things go through it, being misdiagnosed. One of those, too, as well.
Yeah.
A 2-week process. But from a mental side of things, I mean, you obviously were out the whole season. I mean, trying to get back in the swing of things this summer, when did the process start for you to start getting ready to be back on the mound? I mean, when did it come back where you were healthy enough where you could start throwing again?
Well, I had a couple setbacks at first. They tried to rush me back too fast at school because I was off for almost 6 weeks not throwing at all because I couldn't with my hamstring. It messed up my shoulder a little bit, and I had a bunch of shoulder tightness, and that is never good as a pitcher. So I think it was 6 weeks, and then another 3 weeks after that, I started throwing again, and my goal wasn't to come back for my school. It was more just get ready for summer ball, and I knew that I basically wasted a year with the hamstring thing, so I knew that summer ball was my best bet for playing that year, so I got ready for it.
And getting ready, getting all the innings in that you would like to, maybe a couple more starts in the mix. Hopefully tonight, still not sure whether it's going to be you or maybe you're going to go in the next couple of days, but I want to get into who you're playing long toss with. I know that you and I were discussing that with one of your former, I guess, teammates that is making it pretty big as well.
Yeah.
That's another twist to the story, I guess.
Yeah, this is Joe Greenfield. He's from the Chicago area. He was on the team freshman year, and then he had some personal issues and school issues, and he was gone the next year, and then got drafted, came back to Eastern somehow, and this year was supposed to go pretty high, but I'm pretty sure he's coming back again next year, so we're excited to have him, and it'll be good.
And hopefully for you, getting back into the fall, getting back in that rotation, I'm sure a goal of yours. But coming down here to Wilson with a teammate in Matt Bournes as well, another member of the pitching staff, you guys could very possibly be the 1 and the 2 next year at Eastern Illinois. Pretty good combo to have after what we've seen from you two this year. But it's kind of interesting. So many different players on a team. Your relationship with Matt, who again went home because of the innings limit for the most part. But you guys came down here, but not necessarily together, you would say.
Yeah, it was a little bit different because we didn't know. I remember talking to Coach Love about this. I didn't know if Matt was coming down at all.
Wow.
So I called him when I got down here the first day, and I was like, "Hey Matt, we have practice right now. Where are you?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll be there in a couple days." And I was like, "So wait, so you're coming?" He's like, "Yeah, I just found out I was coming today, so I'll be down there as soon as I can."
Wow.
So it was a mess. I don't know what happened. It was kind of on our assistant coach because he kind of handles the whole thing, but it was interesting.
Yeah, pretty good decision for Matt Bournes to come down with the All-Star appearance for him as well, going back home. And now you're going to try and be that Eastern Illinois arm that helps to carry the Tobs at least to the playoff push now. A couple starts remaining. I mean, from a smaller scale of things, just trying to break it down, what do you want to do in the next 2 weeks here? I mean, to make that playoff push, but for you, you probably have 2 starts remaining, maybe 3 appearances. Is there anything in particular that you want to work on because there was a lot of positive momentum your last time out?
Just keeping the confidence that I have right now. Just knowing that I can go out there and nothing's going to happen and nothing's going to falter my confidence it's just a big thing for me right now because I have a lot going positive and I don't want to take another step back. So just keeping with what I'm doing right now is a big thing for me, and I just want to keep doing that.
And definitely the last 2 starts, keep an eye on Christian Slaznik as well as next year once he gets 100% healthy. Pitch a whole season will be dynamite to watch, and Matt, Mika, and I will break down this matchup coming up next. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight.
Welcome back to Tobs Talk. I'm joined with Riley Corcoran. We'll be breaking down the past couple games as well as tonight's matchup. So let's go back to the Columbia Blowfish game. You know, they had the lead, and then they struck out 22 out of 27 outs. Have you seen that before? Have you seen any kind of dominance from a pitching staff? I mean, that was crazy from our side of this.
I agree. I haven't seen anything like that in person before when you have 2 pitchers that only go 3 innings and have 8 strikeouts and 9 strikeouts respectively. It was just something with the Tobs, they just couldn't get in a rhythm. I think that's an understatement to say the least. But what's amazing about it, Matt, is that they had the lead after the 7th inning, despite striking out as many ever times they did in the first 7 frames. And then they had a chance to win it. The bullpen blew it again. I take away more than the 22 strikeouts in that game because the Tobs had 9 hits. It was just a weird game all the way around the board against Columbia, who had won the CPL last year. But the 8th and the 9th innings, what it came down to. The bullpen has been such a strength for this team. And now, all of a sudden, it's not because I mean we're having to throw position guys in Zach Lee and Billy Matroni, and no knock on them. It just shows you how thin this pitching staff is with guys like TJ Vericola going home, Josh Jarrow going home, Matt Bournes going home. I mean, all the way down the line, it's just tough. But the thing I took away from it was the bullpen faltering again, 6 runs in the last 2 innings.
All right, now 2 bright spots in that game. Nick Regner won, and Bobby Gazzola. Let's first go to Bobby Gazzola. He makes his first start for the 2013 campaign and goes 6 1/3 inning, pitching very effectively, using the whole entire field to his advantage. What did you see from him?
I saw from Bobby Gazzola a no-nonsense approach, like we do when he comes in relief, was let's fill up the strike zone. And that's something that the Wilson Tobs pitching staff has not been able to do consistently this year. They're actually 3rd in the CPL with how many walks that they've allowed to other teams. So it's just tough to see that. But for Bobby Gazzola, it was the exact opposite. He filled up the strike zone. I love to see that. A different approach for Bobby because that was the longest start of his life. 6 1/3. If you remember right with Bobby's story when we had him here on Tobs Talk, he went to Hofstra as a shortstop, then went to Western Nevada, did not even start pitching till last year. So to pick up the win there, or to pick up the start with 6 1/3 was impressive. But to me, Matt, the development for Bobby was his off-speed pitches. He normally just throws that sinking fastball in relief. We saw more change-ups, more sliders, and I really think he grew a lot as a pitcher a couple nights ago.
Right, now going to Nick Regner on the opposite side of the ball, you know, he was struggling at the beginning of the year, and then, you know, against Columbia, he was taking pitches the other way. He was using the field to his advantage, hitting to all parts of the ballpark. What did you see from him that you like?
Baseball's a funny game. It really is. He was batting 125 a couple weeks ago, and now he is in the top 6 in averages for the Wilson Tobs. He's up over 250 in that game specifically. Yeah, going the other way. It was great. It just seems there's so much confidence up there. He's relaxed. I mean, from our vantage point, when you're sitting up in the press box, you can tell, and the players might think, nah, no way, but you can tell when someone's tense at the plate, when they're comfortable, and Nick is finally comfortable. He's going the other way. There's a reason he batted .321 at Central Michigan. There's a reason why he put up the stats he did, and it just seems the confidence is brewing from him, rightfully so. Like we talked about a couple days ago, just a great story to see it last night as well. He smoked about 3 balls. He only picked up 1 hit in that game, but a long hitting streak for him, very impressive.
Yep. You know, talking about Central Michigan, he'll had that confidence going to Central Michigan, playing in the MAC again. Now let's go to last night's game against the Steamers. They dug themselves in a hole. What do the Tobs need to do for confidence-wise now tonight? Like, what did you see from that?
Well, from that standpoint, I mean, Edenton just got it going early. It was a leadoff walk and then a bunt single. And that just set the table for their middle of the order. Their middle of the order is so stacked, the reason why they won 30 games again. They're making their 10th consecutive playoff appearance here in a couple of weeks, but you cannot give them free bases. They are too good, and that's exactly what happened last night. Josh Johnson, unfortunately, he's just left out there. It's kind of that helpless feeling, I thought, from my vantage point. I mean, he had 3 innings where Edenton really just cruised through. For a bright spot for Josh, he at least held him scoreless in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So it was kind of either a really good inning or a really bad inning. But you can't fall in a hole like that to Edenton with how good they are.
Right. Now, also, with that loss, the Tobs drop out of the top 4 for the first time, you know, and then Wilmington starting to sneak up right there. Well, what do you see going into the Pettit Cup playoffs, you know, the battle between them? What does that do for a morale for the Tobs?
Well, for the Wilson Tobs, it has to hurt, but at the same time, you approach it 2 different ways. They either fall even further down and go, well, okay, that's too far of an uphill climb. We might not make the playoffs, or you turn around saying, hey, this is the first time we're not in the playoff field in the last couple of weeks. We need to get it together and start pushing forward. It's a great time to do it. That's the good news with all the doubleheaders. The bad news is those games are going to be against the top 3 in the league. 2 against Edenton, 1 more against Peninsula, 2 against Fayetteville in the next 3 nights. So the schedule does not favor the Wilson Tobs, but from a morale standpoint, yeah, Wilmington, like you mentioned, they're starting to win. They're starting to win those close games. Remember back in the middle of June, they had a stretch where there was 15 consecutive games they played within 1 run. Well, the last 2 nights, 1-run games, but they've won both of them. Extra innings, pass ball at the end. Wilmington's finding a groove right now, taking advantage of a little bit of a weaker schedule. The Tobs just need to keep pace.
Right. Now let's go to tonight's matchup. Let's analyze tonight's matchup. The Steamers and Tobs face off again at historic Fleming Stadium in a double dip. So what do the Tobs need to do? Like, with a double dip matchup, what do the Tobs need to do? You know, a different 7-inning game between 9-inning game. What's the difference between that?
Well, for Wilson, I think a lot of it has to do with the starting pitching and not have to worry about the bullpen. You have John Valk III, the de facto ace since Matt Borens has left. He's on the mound. You have to be feeling good about that. You're back at home in a spacious ballpark, which I think favors the Tobs a little bit more than the Edenton Steamers. And heck, I mean, just to put the most basic one out there, the Tobs won the first 2 meetings of the year, but it's been all Edenton since. Switch it up somehow. Make it a 7-inning game, however you may do. The last couple of times these 2 have played, it's just been all Edenton, 9-inning games. Hey, a 7-inning game, just from the basic standpoint, just a different change from a 9-inning contest could be the difference for Wilson.
Right. Now, John Valk III is going to be one of the starters. What have you been most impressed with from Valk this year? You know, lefty, kind of a slow pitcher. He's a thumber. What have you been most impressed with from this season?
I'm more impressed with his approach and the way he attacks things in between starts and being able to have that mindset going into it. He does not care that he throws 81, 82, and I know he's probably sick to death that people are talking about his velocity because it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. He's a lefty. He throws strikes. Again, something to be said with the Wilson Tobs, have not been able to throw strikes consistently. Valak has been excluded from that. His ERA is now under 3. Without 1 bad start at Morehead City, we're talking about pitcher of the year maybe in the sense where the numbers that he's put up, the strikeout totals, he doesn't really need them, but from the ERA standpoint, from a win standpoint, it's been great. I wonder about the pitch count tonight for John. Hopefully that he can get 5 or 6 innings with how many pitches he's going to be limited to, but I've just been so impressed with his approach all year long and the way that some of these guys that throw in the 90s can really learn from John Valk III.
Yep. So the Tobs and the Steamers will face off again tonight at historic Fleming Stadium. Look out for Kevin Jordan and Nick Ragnar to continue their hitting streaks, as well as John Valk III to make a start on the mound as they make a push towards the Pettit Cup playoffs. We'll wrap up the show next on Tobs Talk on Greenlight. And another edition of Tobs Talk in the books. The Tobs coming off a 2-game losing streak, losing to the Columbia Blowfish and the Edenton Steamers. The Steamers and the Tobs will face off again at historic Fleming Stadium, as tonight is the ultimate Thursday, so there'll be drink specials all night long. The Tobs looking to make a push towards the Pettit Cup playoffs, so they'll be going with the Southpaw from the University of Akron, John Valk III, as well as Christian Slasnick today on the bump. Also, join the Tobs at Buffalo Wild Wings for all the festivities after the game. Meet the coaches, the players, as well as the staff. It'll be a great night at Buffalo Wild Wings. Also, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for all updates on the Wilson Tobs. Join us next Thursday for the next episode of Tobs Talk. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight.